Hi everyone, it's Kathy from Kathy Loves to Scrap, and I'm back with a video. Long time since I've done one. This time I'm doing one for the Soul Scrappers Challenge on Facebook, and it's about a monochromatic layout, and the colour I was given was white. So it's all about using white across the playground. Sorry about the dog in the background. Okay, so let's start. I'm using 3 selected pieces of cardstock, and they're all whites. My base will be the Kaisercraft one, and that's really what will pull it all together. So remember, with the Kaisercraft, they have the extra strip at the bottom, and make sure that you trim that off. It's really important. So I'm going to use these and I'm going to build it, and being white it's a bit difficult, so I had to think outside the box. So here comes my embossing folders, which I'm going to use to build up some texture. I've got some snowflakes, some stars, I've got a 3D geometric one, I've got some spots, and I have a cabling type one. All of these I'll use on 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 squares for a panel that I'm going to build. I'm also adding some detail, and I've done it off screen, by using some modelling paste and this stencil, which I think I got from Mystical Scrap Chats. So this one here, as you can see, the modelling paste adds some detail on the page and makes it lift up. Even though it's still in the white, it's giving it something, a point of interest. I've gone ahead and I've embossed all of my squares. I've done 4 × 5 patterns, so you can see, and they've already just taken it and added some interest to those panels, and I'll be using those to build up a side panel. I've taken 2 6x4 mats of white cardstock, which I'm going to put my photos. These photos are from the Hunter Valley Christmas lights, and that's myself, my mum and my daughter. I use my tape on the back, double-sided tape, and I put that on. I only ever put it on 2 sides because sometimes I like to slide things in under the photos. This time I'm going to now go and tape up all of the sides on here, because in a moment I'm going to be creating an effective panel with them. Once they've all been done, I'm going to remove the tape as I go, and I'm going to work methodically across another scrap of white cardstock to build up a side panel which will add interest to the layout. Working with white monochromatic is a little bit challenging at times, and I think that's why I was given the challenge, but I'm enjoying it. Not my preferred colour choice, obviously, but it will do. And as I said, the photos are from Christmas last, and when we went to the Hunter Valley Gardens and looked at the lights. And so I chose the 2 photos that were mainly white. These one, as you can see, I'm just carrying the pattern across, and I'm checking as I go to make sure that the pattern is in the correct spot. And it's making a checkerboard sort of panel. Those people that like gridding, it's a good one. I'm cutting off the excess at the bottom because I don't need that, because they've now put all my panels together. And then I'm ready to start pulling my layout together. Alright, and I am using a Fiskars slide cutter, my favourite. It cuts nice and evenly. Once again, I use my double-sided tape. I really do prefer double-sided tape for holding down, and I know some people only put this minimal about. I put a lot because from experience it does tend to come off in the end. So if you have more, it holds better, and it actually holds it down on the page nice and flat. So pull the strips to the side, and I'm going to bring across my actual layout. Oh no, I'm going to put across 2 more there because I really want it fixed into place, because it is a little bit dense and it is a little bit heavier, and that will sit nicely on the page flat. And you can see, bringing across now where I've got the textured paste, I've got that to the right. I'm going to put this panel over here to the left. Regardless of how good I try, I sometimes don't get it straight, so I really try to work it into a straight line and then place it onto the thing. Running my hands over it, of course, and making sure that it is nice and flat and firming those squares into place. And as you can see, I'm now just going to place the photos that I had previously matted to get a placement happening. Over to the right, you can see a pile of die cuts that I've cut out already. I use my Cricut Design Studio to do that. I've got 2 banner fishtails, which I'm going to add some detail in here along the edge of one panel of the squares. I'm going to have one at the top and I'm going to have one down at the bottom. And I'm just doing a little bit of a placement right now because I want to see what it looks like roughly as I put it together. So as you can see, it's going to add a little bit of lift and a little bit of dimension. I've also got 2 brackets which are going to embrace the photos and add a little bit of a draw to the eye for you. And I actually am using a ScrapaSketch from the premium that you can get at www.scrapasketch.com in there, and they have a premium album with sketches. And being part of the design team and being respectful of the copyright, I can't show you this sketch, but if you go to that website you can find the sketch. I'm now going to glue the fishtails down, and I'm using tacky glue to hold that in place. Acid free, of course, very important. And I'm lining them up by using my grid that is already there as a guide. So that is now in place. I'm going to now put down the photos permanently. And that's, once again, I use my double-sided tape. I really do like it, and I prefer Express It, so I like to use Express It tape. Sometimes I can't always get the Express It tape, but I do prefer to use that tape for my double-sided. And as you can see, I'm going to do both of the photos, and then they will be placed where I had them so that they overlap the fishtail banner but are in alignment with each other. And I do release both at the same time so that I can make sure that I line up my photo so that they meet the page nicely. Now this one here falls, and I use once again the squares in the grid to make sure that I am getting it lined up straight. And there goes my next photo in there. And I'm leaving a bit of a gap in between so that you can see some of the panel and the modelling paste underneath. Alright, so now that I'm going to put the brackets in, I don't want them flat, I want them off the page so that they give some dimension and also to add some interest to it, being especially since it's white and it's monochromatic. I use, once again, Express It puff tape because I prefer the tape. I use a separate set of scissors to cut the tape because they can get gummy. So I'm going to take this bracket here and I'm going to put it over here onto the right so that it then embraces both photos, one top, one bottom. I put that into place, and I do the same again with the one on the left. If I can pick it up, and it goes the same way with the puff tape. And it's really important that you support all of the areas, and I don't have quite enough there, so I'm going to add a little bit more just so that it doesn't collapse on the layout. And that one there, once again, embraces both photos. Now this actual bracket, even though it's there, is actually going to get covered up with some added embellishment clusters, but it's still there in the process, and you can see. Alright, so I'm now moving across, and I've decided that I'm going to use some stars. Well, that's in the sketch as well, but it actually fits the theme because of stars and the bright lights and so forth. So I'm going to tuck one in under the photo and overlapping the photo on the bracket. So I like that placement, so I'll just add some tacky glue to that to hold it in place. Slide in under the photo, one over the top, and I'll just press it into place there. So I'm now going to take a smaller star, because I'm following the sketch pretty closely, but I'm also building up my embellishment clusters. And so I'm going to put the star over the top of that one there in the corner. Next, I'm going to look at it, and before I move on, I need to build a place for the heading or the title. I'm going to add in the square, just a plain square, so that it's another contrast to the embossing underneath. And I'm going to put that into place, and then I will build my title running across from it, so that it gives it a lift off all that embossing, adds another contrast for the eye, and I use the grid as a guide to make sure that I'm getting it straight, so it's pretty much the center of that bracket. Now, having cut this on my Cricut Joy using Design Studio, I ran it through the Xyron sticker maker and my favorite tool, and I have a harbour bridge leading into the Opera House, which is basically what the photos are representing as is the harbour bridge. Sorry, you can hear people in the background, and I really am sorry about that. So my family just don't get it that when I'm not doing a video, they need to be quiet. They can't just yelling out over the top. So I need to use the guide that I cut out to make sure that the little sails of the Opera House all go into place. I want it to be pretty much lined up. So because they are so tiny, I have used the guide. Often I will just free stick, but this time I'm using it to make sure that the Opera House actually looks like the Opera House and isn't just a mess with card. I lift it off carefully, and as you can see, one is lifted off, so I need to go back and put that piece in, just lining it up and putting it up. Won't go there. Put the guide back down again using the negative spacings and put that one in place, and there you go. So now that's my Opera House with my harbour bridge, and I'm now going to put in the letters for down under underneath that, and I work backwards so that I get the placement right, and it's going to go across the star and down across the page so that it fits in. But when you see it, you'll know that it actually just reads down under. And of course, we are down under here in Australia, so they say. And it's just an easy title for this page, given that this was in the Australian themed area of the light display. And I just think that that was simple and tied it in nicely. Okay, so I've now stuck down the title, as you can see. I have a friend who wanted to see how my thought processes worked. Here we go. This is a star, so I'm adding in the last of the clusters of embellishments because, you know, you just like to add more detail. Each of the stars I've popped up so that they're off the page, and throw a shadow which lifts them and gives them some more detail, particularly needed. I'm actually double starring that one because that's now given it more dimension and lifted it up as the other stars have. That adds some detail and eye-catching to the page. Alright, so it's a little bit flat, but you can see now that you can start to see the detail in there. And each of the grids are a bit just sitting there. So to finish them off, I'm going to use my Nuvo Pearl Drops, and I'm just going to put a little dot in each of the joins, like they're a pinhead holding it together on a pin board. And that's going to just add that little bit of zhuzhing. And as I say to my friend, I'm just zhuzhing, and she always goes, oh, don't forget to zhuzh. Yeah, I don't like a flat layout. I like to make sure that it's finished. And Nuvo dots are a great way of finishing off a layout, adding that little bit of extra to it. And I just think that it finishes it off nicely. And so as you can see, it looks like I've gone in and put little pinheads across the grid to hold it in place. That's a little bit of a detail that's necessary, I think, in some layouts, particularly when this one is a monochromatic, so that as much as I can add to it, the better to lift it and make it more appealing to the eye. Okay, so now I'm using my shimmers. They're called Cosmic Shimmers, and this one is a clear one, and it's actually called, what's this one actually called? Sparkle Stars. and I'm using this one because it dries clear, and it really is beautiful. The Cosmic Shimmer Cosmic Twinklies, they're called. And I'm coloring over the top of the stars to add some more detail to the layout and making it, just as I said, a little bit. Turn it around so that I don't touch the Nuvo drops that I already put in. And you can see that I'm just basically using the nozzle to colour in the star and backfill into the space, so that that space is now beautifully done and in place there. That's adding a nice bit of a glimmer, a bit of a shimmer to the page, and a bit of detail like the lights, so that it twinkles like the lights in the light. Alright, now that I've finished that and all 3 stars, now remember I don't always overfill. I have done the layout, and you can see that that's the layout. Like I said, it's from www.ScrapaSketch.com, and you can see the detail. It's lifted off the page. I've got some masking and some stenciling. I've got some embossing and Nuvo drops. I've got some twinkles added in, and that makes the page just that little bit more glimmery. And as you can see, the final product, which I hope you like, and if you do, don't forget to give me a thumbs up down below, and you can always subscribe if you haven't. My name's Kathy Loves to Scrap. You can find me on my links by going through my channel. And thanks for watching today. I hope something inspired you.